I was really excited to do this video. It's the first video of the first horror movie of 2021. It's a whole new year, and I'm looking forward to all kinds of great horror to encounter and relay back to you. But this review of Shadow in the Cloud is a bit different than my regular reviews. I try to keep swearing to a minimum here, mainly because I feel curse words are often used by those who don't have a more elaborate way of explaining themselves. I also try to keep my reviews pretty spoiler-free, but for reasons I will make clear in a bit, this review will have swears and spoilers aplenty. Consider yourself warned. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights page and give it a like, share with your buddies across the electronic superhighway, click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Shadow in the Cloud is new in select theaters, on demand, and digital download from Vertical Entertainment. It's directed by Roseanne Lang and written by Roseanne Lang and Max Landis. A mysterious woman going by the name of Maude Garrett, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, makes her way across a military tarmac at the height of World War II. At her side is a large satchel with a strange air hole, and Maude seems very concerned with its contents. Maude struts out to a fighter plane that is about to take off, opens the side hatch and jumps in, startling the soldiers inside. Shocked to see a dame in a fighter plane, the soldiers demand to know what's going on. Maude says she's on a top-secret mission and presents papers to confirm that. Grumbling and full of derogatory remarks about there not being female Air Force officers, the soldiers shove Maude into the lower gunner turret and take off, leaving the top-secret package above deck under guard of one of the soldiers who promised not to open it. While in the lower turret, Maude notices Japanese fighter planes approaching from the clouds, but that's not all. She also notices a large bat-like creature making its way around underneath the plane and tearing into the engines on the wings. In order to save herself and the package, and I guess the soldiers as well, Maude must convince the suspicious soldiers above that the Japanese fighters and what looks to be a real live gremlin are real. So Shadow in the Cloud is sort of like that Twilight episode Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which was remade in the Twilight Zone the movie with Chloe Grace Moretz playing the Shatner/Lithgow character, and set during World War II. And I think if this film had stuck with being an homage to those episodes, it might have been a successful one. The first half of Shadow in the Cloud actually has an intriguing premise, with subtle nods to the misogynistic treatment of women during the World War II era and the empowerment of women, with Maude taking on multiple obstacles in order to accomplish her goal. There's a little intrigue set up with the mysterious satchel and Maude's agenda. There's an intense dilemma as Maude is stuck in the turret with a view of the situation that is completely different than the untrusting soldiers above. There is also some great action as the gremlin slinks around just out of view, seen in glimpses and through thick smoke and clouds, as well as a hell of a great sequence where Maude has to take on both the gremlin and the Japanese plane because the soldiers above think she's seeing things. All of this works until it doesn't. And holy shit, as soon as we find out what's in the satchel, this film skips from a somewhat believable story of intrigue and action to the most utterly ridiculous, message-heavy, logic-confounding, head-slappingly stupid film I have seen in ages. Before I get into spoilers, I'll just say that this is a schizophrenic movie with half of it quite entertaining, and the other the biggest shit show you'll ever likely encounter this side of a U-Bowl film. Spoilers. Turns out there's a baby in the satchel, and Maude is attempting to smuggle the child back to America on the fighter. For some reason, the gremlin wants the baby. There's no explanation why. There's really no explanation as to what the gremlin is. At the beginning, we get a fun little animation explaining the gremlin is just the soldier's excuse for poor discipline and lack of professionalism. This is something that shows up when the lax soldiers are less than respectful to Maud when she boards the plane, and the way they prefer to think Maud is lying when the dangers arise, and don't stick to protocol. I like that subtle way the film approached the cartoon version of the gremlin, explains what the meaning behind the gremlins really were back in those days, and then has the soldiers exemplifying this lack of professionalism, courtesy, and discipline, and then doubling down on it by having the gremlin appear and attack the plane. This is a smart way of presenting a horror movie with a monster that represents a theme. Unfortunately, once the baby is revealed, logic leaves the dojo. After stealing the baby from the plane above, the gremlin scoots out of the plane again and takes refuge in the wing. This is when Moretz decides to go full-on Dutch Quaid, John Matrix, or whatever Schwarzenegger role you can think of. The film begins with semi-realism. Even though there were no female Air Force aviators during World War II, I was willing to play ball with this film. When Maud uses her finger to hold a latch together when the gremlin is yanking on it from the outside, I was right with the film, as this was a desperate move to save her life and ends up messing up her hand pretty badly, showing that this is a fallible protagonist that we're following. But it's at this point in the film that Maud leaves the turret, crawls upside down with her bare hands under a flying plane while Japanese fighters are shooting at the plane to go rescue her baby on the engine on the wing. She then pulls some random metal pipe out of the wing and uses it to save the baby right before it falls. Then, Maud crawls upside down across the bottom of the plane, carrying the baby back to the hole in the plane, tosses the baby in, loses her grip, falls from the plane just when the Japanese plane below her blows up, and is blown back into the hole of the plane she fell from. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, up until this sequence, which begins with Moretz screaming into the camera, "You have no idea what I would do to get my baby," Moretz plays things really straight. She's going for realistic drama, and even though the existence of gremlins stretches the boundaries of believability, the first half of this film really takes the situation seriously, introduces some sophisticated themes, and plays things like a serious drama despite the fantastic elements. But when Moretz leaps from the turret, defies gravity, human capability, and good sense, the tone shifts from the sublime to the fucking redonkulous. Now, one might argue that if Arnold can be seen leaping from planes, lifting giant cannons, and duking it out with monsters, why can't a woman do that? And I agree. If this were a film that maintained that over-the-top tone from the beginning, that would work for me. But the second half of this film feels like it was written by someone with a serious mental deficiency, while the first half actually seemed like someone with some subtlety, some nuance, and some brains were at the helm. And who did write this film? Why, it's that human piece of dog excrement that goes by the name of Max Landis. That's who. Yes, the man who wrote this film about female empowerment and their mistreatment by the patriarchy is the same fucking monster who is accused of raping, assaulting, and psychologically torturing 8 of his past girlfriends. Sounds like the perfect person to pen this type of film. I have no idea how this fuckbucket gets more work in Hollywood, but I guess if his pop can get away with killing an actor and 2 children on the set of The Twilight Zone the movie, Lil Landis can still keep working as well. When Landis's name appeared at the end of this film, which I'll get to in a second, I wanted to put my fist through the computer screen. I really don't get so assed up about the real-life antics of artists, but the point of Shadow in the Cloud, while misguided and clumsy, is to highlight and empower women, and this is coming from a man who is accused of choking and beating women and then raping them because he likes to see them cry while he fucks them. Fuck Max Landis with a chainsaw. I can't blame Chloe Grace Moretz for not liking this film. She gives her all, but she's way out of her depth here. Sure, she booted all kinds of rump in Kick-Ass as Hit Girl, but again, that was an over-the-top film, and this one is trying to be something heavier and subtler. Her final fight with the gremlin on the beach after the plane crashes just lacked any kind of power they were going for, and it turned out to be unintentionally hilarious. Here I go spoiling again. When the plane goes down and the gremlin is tossed from the plane, they land on a beach. Maud and 3 soldiers, Two of them, walking and fully capable of fighting for themselves, are encountered once again by the gremlin, which, you guessed it, needs that fucking baby for some reason. It yanks the kid and goes running off on the beach. The three soldiers just sit there, mouths agape on top of their thumbs, astonished at Maud as she kicks the shit out of this gremlin on the beach. This comical and over-the-top sequence ends with Maud making the gremlin hit himself with his own fist and claw, and once the gremlin is defeated, I shit you not, Maud whips out a boob. Sorry, no nipple is shown, you pervs. I was kind of disappointed too. And starts breastfeeding on the beach as the soldiers look up to her in awe. She gazes over to the plane, which of course exploded because explosions. She gazes over to the fiery plane as the gal painted on the side of the plane is burned away. Then we cut back to Maud standing tall. She is woman. Hear her roar. Cue credits where we get a montage of women in the military set to a fucking Kate Bush song. They can't be serious. What starts out as a subtle bit of intrigue and monster mayhem turns into the most broad, idiotic, and obtuse attempt at feminine acknowledgement I have ever seen. By the end, Shadow in the Clouds hits the viewer with a brick of sheer pretension. I was upset and embarrassed for Moretz by the end of this horribly written movie, who really needs to get a new agent after this film, Greta, and the Tom and Jerry movie. Now, I don't know if fuckface Landis wrote that in-your-face, over-the-top crap, or if the co-writer and director Roseanne Lang is responsible. But my advice to Lang is to back away and blame Landis and cut your losses with this film. Still, you can't blame the use of a synth score in a World War II monster flick on the writing, so maybe Lang is much more at fault than I thought. I'm not against films with strong women or themes of feminism. I don't think I can be a horror fan and not appreciate the strength shown in so many of the horror films I see. Some of the most powerful and terrifying horror films have heavy themes of female empowerment and the struggle against the patriarchy, but it's films like this that gives most films like Aliens, Halloween, The Descent, and so on a bad name because it wants to be lumped in with them while clumsily fumbling with cheap and brainless attempts at depth and relevancy. This mess comes off more like a film that makes fun of all things feminine and powerful than one promoting it. There's a reason films are released in January. It's usually the bottom of the barrel in terms of film. Though I am ever hopeful that things are looking up in 2021, if Shadow in the Clouds is any indication, we're in for another shit-speckled trip around the sun. Watch Shadow in the Clouds simply to see how bad it is. That's the only way to go into it without being disappointed. That'll be it for today. Please chime in the comments down below and let me know what you think of this video, how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. If you like this video, please pound that thumbs up button. Share this video with your social media addicted pals. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on mlmillerwrites.com. And don't forget I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Grave Trancers is out right now, and so is Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, and they're only going to be in the finest of comic book shops. And be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for alerts to be the first to see my future videos. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality.